interested in it. So let's take a look at some news. There was an article in the Washington Post a few days ago which said that we are overcounting COVID deaths, that a lot of people, like maybe 2/3 of the people who are recorded as dying of COVID actually died of something else, but they had COVID, which is a technical problem. If somebody has COVID and then they die of heart failure, did they exactly die of COVID or not? And it's kind of an arbitrary thing. But anyway, a doctor published this letter in the Washington Post, which is a liberal publication, and then Fox News published an article about it. And when I retweeted it, people got on Mastodon, people got so mad they wanted to throw me off Mastodon because they think this is a terrible thing to say. And so here's the rebuttal. This guy, Jeremy Faust, has written an article debunking it. Now, he claims that the original article written by, I think, Lena Wen, was just talking about doctors' clinical experience in diagnosing patients. But the argument that other people have is if you look at the total number of people that have died, the excess deaths, which is just the total number of deaths more than usual, then you find that the total number of extra people that died in a year in America were more than the COVID deaths. So that would suggest that you're undercounting the COVID deaths. And so anyway, that's the other side of it. Certainly, that article didn't say you shouldn't take the vaccine or anything, but I think it is an issue. And the biggest place I see this is China now. You know, China claimed that they only had like 3 COVID deaths because of the way they decided to count them. And then they admitted it was 65,000. And doctors outside China say it's probably 1 million by now, which seems like it would have to be. And so they, anyway, it's hard to measure this number. Anyway, so that started a lot of people all upset, though. Now, this is the Pandemic Roundup, which is something a local San Francisco writer named Violet Blue puts out. It's very interesting. Every week she has a summary of things, interesting facts about the pandemic. Her general message is that the pandemic is much more serious than people are taking it. Everybody should be very careful, wearing masks more than they are and everything else. I'm not wearing a mask in this room, but I have a CO2 meter to record how much CO2 there is in the air, and it suggests that it's safe enough to do that in here. But anyway, she had a lot of interesting measurements here, information here, like long COVID is becoming the leading cause of disability in New Zealand. And another thing which I found here, which I didn't find anywhere else, was a fact about Congress. A whole bunch of Congress people got COVID, and you may remember in the 15 votes to determine the new House leader, all the Democrats and the Republicans had to be there to vote every time. And if the Democrats had left and not voted, that would have made it easier for the Republicans to get a majority. So they all had to stay, and they said a bunch of them had COVID, and they were still staying there physically to vote, not to miss the vote. And they said outside it was like a hospital ward, everybody coughing in masks. So that's pretty disturbing. And I think certainly a lot of people in Washington get COVID. A lot of politicians do, because they're constantly in rooms full of other people, and they don't take enough precautions. However, at Davos, they do. That was another thing. She had to list at Davos, which is where all the rich people go to talk about high finance stuff. They have a heap of HEPA cleaners in every room. Everybody has to take a test to get in. They have free tests all the time. They have a bunch of precautions. And everybody's masked, all the staff and everything. So you can prevent things. And I know there is a classroom over there I taught in the summer where they had a homemade HEPA filter. It's very easy. You just take an ordinary big fan and you build a cube of filters around it, and it just blows the air through that. That doesn't cost much and it's effective. We haven't got one in here, but for the number of students in here, we're fine. This CO2, if it gets up to 1,000, then you have that's when you need to worry. And as you see, we only have 550. So the air in here is about as fresh as the air outside, which is good. Anyway, this one I was amazed at. So Massachusetts school paid a bunch of money to put in a special energy-saving light system. And the reason it's energy-saving is because it will turn off the lights on a schedule. And it never worked. It failed immediately. The lights have been stuck on for more than a year because the software is broken and they can't figure out how to fix the software. And they can't replace the system because they can't get the parts from China. And so the vendor keeps giving more and more excuses and wanting more and more money to patch it, but they've just been staying on forever, which is, this is increasingly common. If you think about, there are many stories about these devices people put in their home, like the smart thermostat, the smart doorbell and everything, and then the company goes broke or fouls up and your device quits working and there's nothing you can do. This is extremely common. So T-Mobile was hacked, and this is particularly important to this class because we're going to talk about API security. API is an application programming interface, and this is where a mobile device or a website can request some data from a server. You say, tell me the name of this person, tell me the profile information or picture of this person. You ask it for a little bit of data and you get it with little requests. And notoriously, they have API endpoints. There's one that will let you get pictures, get login details, and so on, and they often forget to secure them, almost always. Each time you do a request for some data from a server, it is supposed to verify that you are allowed to get that data, that you have logged in as the appropriate user, but frequently they forget to check for every endpoint. So you can find an endpoint that will accept an unauthenticated request and give you data without verifying that you're authorized to get it. And that's what happened to T-Mobile, and it happens all the time. And we're going to do hands-on projects with this, and we'll be practicing this attack and show you how to protect against it in this class. And so T-Mobile didn't give the details here, but they had some unprotected API endpoint, and somebody was able to get 37 million customer accounts through it, which is very common. So that's one of the things we're going to cover. And I was amazed to read this. I feel like the politics are collapsing over here, but Israel is even worse. I mean, the Bibi Netanyahu is facing prosecution on many serious corruption charges, and now his minister that he needs for his majority is in even worse shape, really serious corruption charges. He's been convicted 3 times of offenses, and they've officially said he has to be removed from his post because his moral turpitude is so extreme he cannot be trusted to have any government position. So the Israeli Supreme Court has ordered the prime minister to remove him, and he has refused. And they say at this point, you're destroying the whole government. This is very much like when Donald Trump lost the election, and he said, I'm not going to leave. I'm just going to stay in power anyway. If he does that, that's kind of the end of the system. And he didn't succeed in doing it here, although he tried. And it remains to be seen whether Netanyahu will succeed in doing it there. Now, Xi Jinping did succeed in doing it in China. He wasn't allowed to get another term, so he changed the constitution to just stay in forever. And so did Vladimir Putin. He also was going to lose power by terming out, but he changed the constitution so he can just stay in power forever. And they say this is how democracies die now. They don't have a revolution and a battle. You just elect somebody who changes the rules to become basically a king, and that's the end of your democracy. Anyway, so it looks like Israel has had a constitutional crisis a little worse than ours right now. You can apparently get Microsoft Office for $30 today, so that's interesting. And let's see, I see people there. I'll put this link in the chat if anybody wants it. It sounded like a pretty good deal if you need to buy Microsoft Office. I was thinking about it, and then I thought, you know, pretty much everybody can use like Google Office for most things these days anyway. But anyway, you might need Microsoft Office. And so PayPal had a whole lot of accounts breached, but this is an attack. This is credential stuffing. Credential stuffing is very common, and companies that get hacked this way can argue it was not their fault. The way credential stuffing works is people hack companies and dump all their credentials on the web. And you just go download like 10 million credentials or 1 billion credentials from publicly dumped data, and you try that email and address to see if somebody reused the same password on a different site. And most people do. Most people reuse the same password on many sites until they learn to use a password manager. And so one of those sites gets hacked, they dump the password, and now anybody can just try that password and get in. So it's not that they broke into PayPal security, it's that the users are sloppy and reused a password, and then credential stuffing works. This is why you should turn on two-factor authentication. So it takes your password and another thing, like a number you get on your phone, because then even if somebody else gets your password, they still can't get in. Anyway, that was PayPal. And this one was very interesting. MalwareTech is a hero in the information security community. MalwareTech is a British security researcher and named Marcus Hutchins, and he stopped the WannaCry worm. The WannaCry worm was a huge embarrassment. The Russians stole military hacking tools from the NSA, and they used it to write a worm which would spread around the world doing ransomware and shutting down major sites, and it shut down the hospitals in the UK, and several people died as a result, reportedly. But a few hours later, it had become working hours in America, and Marcus Hutchins had a sample of it, and he analyzed it using, and we taught malware analysis last semester, it'll come around again. It's very easy when analyzing a piece of malware to find the readable strings in it. and he found a domain in there. And he found that the domain was not active. So he purchased the domain just to see what would happen, and that turned off the malware. It stopped spreading. The designer had somehow put in this off switch, and he triggered it more or less by accident. And because of that, the worm was deactivated by the time American business hours came, and it did not take down our hospitals, only the UK's hospitals. So he was celebrated as a hero, having probably saved many lives and stopped the propagation of a dangerous worm here. So he came to DEF CON to give a talk about it and was arrested by the FBI for a previous offense. Before this, he wrote some banking malware. And so he was trapped in America, going to court and stuff. I don't think he actually went to prison or anything, but he's been in America for a couple of years now, and he writes a lot of very interesting stuff. And this is one of them. So Google has a serious problem with malware on their page. A lot of the ads point to malicious sites, and a lot of the search results point to malicious things. So this is a problem. It crops up every few years on Google. They seem to be slow at cleaning up their search results. So their ads have malicious content and their search results too. And now if you search for a product like OBS or Audacity or something, most of the hits on the first page will lead to malware. They don't lead to a genuine download site for the genuine software, which is a shame, especially since Google runs VirusTotal. It's inside their own operation that they could be testing these sites to see if they're malicious. Anyway, it's apparently quite bad right now. A couple of researchers have been showing out, so it is a thing to be aware of. All right. Anyway, we're now up to the official time. Let me stop this recording.